Have you ever had questions about Christianity? Great. We're going to take a look at some of the biggest questions you may have, like who wrote the Bible?
People talk about the Bible all the time. In fact, it's the best-selling book in history. But what is it really, and who actually wrote it? Well, first off, the Bible isn't just one book. It's many different books, written by authors who lived in different places and times. In its entirety, the Bible was written over a period of about 2,000 years. Yet it all communicates the same message. This is because God used different people to write down different parts of the Bible and communicate His message. We know who many of these people were, like Moses, King David, and Paul. These people physically wrote the words that make up the Bible, and we know these people lived in a real place and time. For instance, King David was a king in Judah around 1000 BC. Because each of these authors were unique individuals, the books they wrote are different genres and styles. King David often wrote in poetry and song, whereas Paul wrote letters that gave instructions to early churches. Yet, they all relate to the same message. How is that when so many of these people never even met each other? Well, they were all inspired by God. God revealed what He wanted to communicate to these individuals. This process of individuals writing down what God wanted the Bible to say is called divine inspiration. It means these people wrote exactly what God wanted to communicate, but at the same time wrote it in a way unique to their own personalities and thought processes. The Apostle Paul writes in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16, that all Scripture is God-breathed. This refers to God being the one who actually decided the content of the Scripture, while men wrote it down. The Bible confirms it was divinely inspired, rather than just a collection of random thoughts and sayings. We also see that God had purpose in communicating through the authors. Many books of the Bible state their purpose and origin, while others can be found out by historical context and comparing them with other books of the Bible. For example, we have books like Leviticus that center around God communicating the law to His people, whereas the Gospel of Matthew was written by a tax collector whose life was changed by Jesus, and he writes to show how Jesus was the Messiah written about in the Old Testament. We also see a series of books written by prophets who are the mouthpieces of God to communicate specific messages from God, often through visions and dreams. These books all have their own flavors and style, but they were all inspired by God. So, we see through all these various aspects of how the Bible came from God to man that God had one unified message to give us, but He chose to do so through individuals writing many different books that all tie back to God as the source.